Atatürk, who has eaten the black bread of poverty and lived in the front lines of war, acquires the trappings of power. His proud, fiercely disciplined bearing, which annoyed his superior officers years before, does not change now that he acknowledges no superiors. The men around him treat him as emperors and primitive chieftains and modern dictators are treated. Flatter and yes him, seek the smallest of privileges, such as lighting his cigarette. Man in a hurry, he has no time for opposition or for modifying his programs. Is too concentrated to pay the slightest attention to the awkward and harassed civil servant who is about to drip peach juice on his shoulder, or to the waiter who will wipe it off. Although gossip is rife of his spare time affairs with women, of private drunken orgies by which Atatürk relieves long periods of relentless labor, this monarch in mufti never loses his public dignity, even at play. He is adored, also respected, also hated and feared and ruthless in dealing with those who oppose him. Now he goes into the countryside, to remote villages, to archaic farms, to rouse the lethargic and primitive peasants. His credo, Turk, be proud, work, be confident. There are two ways of conquering, says Atatürk, by the sword or by the plow. To show his phlegmatic peasants what he wants, he buys land, demonstrates the advantages of tractors. Atatürk, son of a civil servant, military careerist, now all-powerful dictator, becomes a model Sunday farmer. The world is anxious to restore good diplomatic relations with Turkey. From the United States comes Ambassador Joseph Clark Grew.
For this revolution and high accomplishment, one man is primarily responsible. The name of Gazi Mustafa Kemal will forever be associated with the development, founding of the new modern Turkish state, and will forever be inscribed indelibly upon the rolls of history.
Türk milleti taben demokrattır.
The Turkish nation is democratic by nature.
Zaten çok yükselmiş bulunan Amerika milletinin Türk milleti.
I have no doubt that the American nation, which has gone so far in this ideal, is Turkey's friend in her aims.
Bütün beşeriyeti birbirini sevmeye.
This will not be all. Perhaps it can lead to a world of love, with all old prejudices erased, with all nations coexisting in peace and prosperity. When the Great World Depression of the 1930s slows down economic reconstruction in the country, Turkish people by the thousands wait for Atatürk to bring him their troubles and their problems. To the man in the street, Atatürk is his personal boss and his personal friend, willing to listen, wanting to help. All over the country, Atatürk preaches the ways of the West, scolds and harries workmen to carry out his forcible plan for industrializing the Turkish Republic. Turkey begins to move into the 20th century, builds dams, mills, factories. The tempo is fantastic. Industrial production under Atatürk increases tenfold. Still, there are growing pains, a poorly designed and poorly run heavy industry operating at a loss, profitable light industry deliberately run at an excessive profit to cover the deficit. Turkey's textile mills being a notable example. The European nations compete briskly for Turkish trade, for her surpluses, her chrome, and her tobacco. in exchange for the manufactured goods, machinery, and arms she imports. Turkey's foreign relations are excellent, but war is in the offing. Ataturk hopes Turkey can remain neutral, as indeed she will do during most of World War II. But meantime, he must mend his defenses and re-equip his neglected army, a bayonet army from an earlier era of belligerence. Turkey's dictator has said, Hitler will lead a dynamic nation to destruction by whipping its passions, and Mussolini will play Caesar. Time is proving him right. Aging now, Ataturk gives his personal fortune to the nation, lives quietly, spends time teaching the youngest of his 6 adopted daughters the alphabet he made all Turkey learn. Watching his young nation, Father Ataturk believes in her democratic future and has preserved for her under his autocratic rule the Republican Constitution and the secret ballot which will elect his successors. His severest Western critic grudgingly admits, Ataturk is dictator so that Turkey may never again have a dictator. The Shah of Iran is among the neighboring rulers who come to admire Ataturk's prospering, progressive nation. The Emir of Transjordan comes. The Arab world is impressed by Turkey, but later when nationalism develops throughout Islam, none of its leaders will have Ataturk's genius or his convictions. An ailing Ataturk spends much time aboard the yacht presented to him for his health by the Turkish people. Long ago, he has said, I will lead my people by the hand along the road until their feet are sure and they know the way. Then my work will be done. On November 10th, 1938, Ataturk dies at the age of 58. 13 years of his life he spent in active warfare fighting for Turkey. For 15 years, until his death, he was our first president and absolute ruler. His last command is that his successor be one who will follow his course. İsmet İnönü is that man. Today, this mausoleum is a shrine for his people, who well and truly mourned for Ataturk. Marching past in fighting trim, the soldiers of Turkey are the sons of the ragged forces who followed him to fight for Turkish independence 40 years ago. Modern Turkey is a vigorous ally of the West. She welcomes not only foreign products, but the foreign bases and men on her soil to help defend her way of life and her NATO alliance. Not all of her problems have been solved, however. Her economy is heavily bolstered by, some say virtually dependent on, Western aid. Her democracy is still far from perfect, and historians still argue about Ataturk, the man who in less than 2 decades made Turkey over. His methods, his tyrannies, his personal habits. Yet none denies the staggering achievements of the incredible Turk. These, our allies, guarding the gates to the east, are the inheritors, the children of Mustafa Kemal Atatürk. The story of next week's episode in a moment. And now a message from your host, the Prudential Insurance Company of America.